Hey everyone, thanks for returning for my third Q&A video response. I did fix the angle of the camera today so that half of my head will not be chopped off. I apologize for that from yesterday. It was half gone. So anyway, today's question is as follows. Do you support the teaching of CRT? I think the best way to approach this is to break it down into a few different buckets. I've had a number of conversations on CRT, and CRT is critical race theory. So I've had a number of conversations on CRT with various adults, teachers included, over the past year or even more. And one of the key takeaways from almost all of those conversations is that there really isn't clarity on the full definition of CRT. And that is because CRT is a very complex action with no static definition. It includes multiple tenets that are constantly evolving. So this makes it extremely difficult for anyone to take a stance on because it may mean different things to different people. It may mean something today that in a year down the road, it's going to mean something totally different. So that right there is concerning because you really can't put a fence around this. We can't put a fence around what we're discussing. So please don't pull this video up in a year and crucify me for everything that I'm saying if CRT is completely different at that point. I'm going to talk about it as I understand it today and based on the information that I have today. So I recently read an article on CRT from the American Bar Association, and I found this article to be pretty good, pretty neutral in terms of political stance. And I will share the link to this article in the caption of this post. But this article reiterated how CRT is a malleable practice. So I'm going to quote a couple sentences from the article here. CRT critiques how the social construction of race and institutionalized racism perpetuate a racial caste system that relegates people of color to the bottom tiers. CRT also recognizes that race intersects with other identities, including sexuality, gender identity, and others. CRT recognizes that racism is not a bygone relic of the past. Instead, it acknowledges that the legacy of slavery, segregation, and the imposition of second-class citizenship on Black Americans and other people of color continue to permeate the social fabric of this nation. So that's bucket number one. Okay, we didn't fully define it, but at least we have an idea of what the theory is based on and what we're talking about here. Bucket number two is going to be my view on critical thinking. So I believe that children should be taught to think critically. Absolutely. They need to question things. They need to think outside the box. As they grow and develop, they need to be able to form their own opinion after seeking out facts from multiple sources and critically analyzing them. One of my favorite lines, and something that I tell both of my daughters every day, is believe nothing you hear and half of what you see. So in other words, take nothing at face value, right? Do your homework, collect the facts, think critically about it, and make your opinion based on, an educated, informed approach. Bucket number three is my view on children in grades kindergarten through 12th, applying this practice of critical thinking to the theory that we just laid out in bucket number one. So I believe that history is an essential piece of today's world, obviously. And I believe it should be taught in a very detailed and factual approach, absent of additional opinion and persuasion shared by any teacher. I believe that we should teach history. We should take the good from it, and we should learn from the mistakes because undoubtedly, undeniably, there were many, many mistakes made in history. But we take those mistakes, we learn from them, and we do better in the future. I do not believe that children in grades K through 12 should be taught opinions in their required courses that potentially perpetuate racism or instill feelings of guilt or shame. I do not believe that anyone living today is inherently responsible for historical events. If high schools want to offer optional or elective courses focused on critically examining diverse opinions on race, racism, gender, or equality, I'm fine with that. But I am a firm believer that the required courses in a public school district need to be centered on factual truths. I think that, especially now, more than ever, this world is filled with catalysts that are trying to drive us apart. I believe that everyone has a responsibility to be inclusive and treat others with respect, no matter what. I would love to see our districts or our district increase their focus on building a culture of unity and a sense of community in an effort to overcome the constant forces that are trying to drive us apart. So I hope that helps explain my perspective on CRT and how I think about it, in terms of how we incorporate it into school districts. Again, I think that the required courses should be focused on factual history. And if they want to offer electives that dig deeper into opinions on that history, fine, but have them be electives. I hope that helps, and talk to you next time.